Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Candidate, a question and answer session with Nicole Hamm, who's a candidate running for Jacksonville City Council District 4. If you're here on Zoom with us, please mute your microphone, keep it muted. It really helps with audio transmission. And if you have questions for Nicole, go ahead and drop them in the chat box, and I'll pick them up out of the chat box and send them on to Nicole for her to answer. And if you're unfamiliar with Zoom, you just hover on your screen to find the controls. All right, so November 3rd, people are already early voting, so I feel like we shouldn't even say November 3rd anymore. We should say like today, now, you can start voting. I'm gonna stop the screen share and let's roll right in and get to talking with Nicole Hamm. So, hi Nicole, how are you this evening?
Happy first day of early voting. It's been like Christmas in Duval County today. Lines wrapped around the corner of libraries. Lots of energy in the air. So yeah, I'm excited.
We've already got a question that's come in from the chat box. Someone's asking, what's on your agenda for the first 90 days? If, when elected, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I want to do is to kind of look at, when we've already kind of been building it, like a residence of D4, just kind of mail base. To let them know, introduce myself, let them know I've been elected and I'll be representing them, and this is how I'll be communicating with them, and reference my website and give all my information out so people are aware and know who I am. And then I want to get to work. I want to sit down with Council President Tommy Hazouri and see what the transition looks like. If that means I need to have, a couple weeks shadowing Mr. Wilson before he exits, or if that means shadowing on the committee meetings that I would be in on, and just kind of get a feel of how that works, and then just get to work, get with our residents after I introduce myself, get that feedback. One of my biggest passion points is infrastructure. So I really want to get a meeting with JEA on the schedule and try to figure out where we're seeing some of these pain points issues and in our districts, and just get acclimated really fast so I can get to work even faster.
Another question just came in on why did you run?
Why did I run? I ran because I was struggling to see myself, or to see the things that my neighbors and my friends have been seeing be done in office. And I don't think that's a shot at our current councilman, but I think that just some of us that have been in the area for such a long time and have seen a lot of shifts, we're kind of at a bit of a point where the direction our town or district can take is very pivotal. It can, be really great, or it can begin to degenerate. And so I want to be on the opposite side of that. So I decided to run because I want to bring people back to the forefront. I want to see more community engagement, some more collaboration between agencies, committees, and government. And, first and foremost, I want to take care of the city that raised me, and just give back in a different way that's sustainable and long lasting.
So in city council, do you have a particular committee that you'd like to work on? The person who's asking the question says that they've been watching you for a while, and they recognize that you've been attending not town halls, what are those, the committee meetings and the actual city council meetings, right?
Yeah. I come from a numbers background, so I'd really like to join finance. I consider myself pretty frugal. Obviously, like things in quality, but I like to find where we can do better with how we're expensing our money. And I think that's so important, because that's kind of the hard part. The work is, negotiating and finding contracts and looking up different vendors and finding those prices and contracts. And so that's a lot of work, but I like that kind of stuff. I like being able to go through a contract and seeing like, okay, well, this is our better option if we do this, then the other, and then present it, get feedback, and then hopefully enact it to not necessarily cut corners, but to be a little bit more mindful about how we're using the taxpayer dollar.
Another question just came in through the chat box. Will you continue with your service work with BEAM, which is Beaches Emergency Assistance Ministry, and Rotaract?
Absolutely. I made a commitment when I first joined those organizations. BEAM has a 3-year board of director commitment, and I'm an officer until June in Beaches Rotaract. So I intend to fulfill my commitments. What I can say is that I would take up additional space, and my job and I have talked about possibly taking a lesser workload, so I have a little bit more flexibility to continue all of my commitments. And then when those are complete, I can evaluate what has worked, what hasn't worked. And we are in a space where everything's virtual, so I kind of have a little bit more flexibility than I would if I would have to go back and forth between City Hall and the beaches. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we can kind of compromise, and my job is on board. They're great people. So I will finish out my commitments. My mom taught me, you know, when you make a commitment, you see it through. I mean, I wanted to quit things so many times in the middle of seasons. And she said, well, you signed up for the season, you better finish it out. So I plan to finish out my commitments and just evaluate from there what next steps should be.
Another question, excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Another question that's come in through the chat is, what are your priorities? You know, what's important to you, and what are you going to bring, you know, to City Hall with these priorities?
Well, you know, my priorities are community engagement and development, transparency and accountability, infrastructure, and creating an equitable and equal community for each and every. And I think all of those things kind of actually tie into each other, and it helps us build, you know, as a community. As we empower our small businesses, the community begins to get engaged. And as we engage our community, they begin to hold each other accountable and hold me accountable. And I think that there's just this super intricate way that they all mesh together. And if we start from doing it the right way, then we can go forward from there.
You know, we're all giggling at your housemate, right?
Yeah, a little silly. Mm-hmm.
And that's just the life of being online, campaigning, right? It's just the life of people in this work. You know, lots going on. How's it been this week on the campaign trail?
Oh, this week has been quite a week for sure. You know, it hasn't been what I expected, but I don't think anything in this campaign has been, so to speak. We've just been doing all that we can. We did a lot of lit dropping this weekend. We're doing phone calls as much as we can, chasing ballots and talking to constituents. And, you know, with this day being the first day of early voting, we got our signs out to our early voting locations, and we're on a slate card. We had poll greeters greeting, you know, voters as they came in, and you know, we're taking the high road. We've got some pictures with signs torn out of the ground or knocked over or stepped on, but we're going to continue to stay firm in our race and just continue to do the right thing and keep our head held high.
Another question in from the chat: being young and a woman of color, how do you plan to engage with young people?
So, you know, that's kind of one of the things that we're already engaged with and engaged on. So we have a group called Students for Nicole, which is a group of high schoolers that are extremely engaged in the voting process and their civil rights and actions. So they're taking a huge step in their advocacy and working on a campaign closely. And then I also just spoke to the UNF student newspaper, considering that UNF is really close to the district and most of those students live in the district. And, you know, talking about my accessibility, how I want to be for them, trying to get a gauge on what they need. You know, I'm removed from high school and my tenure in college, so things are a little bit different. So I want to be able to hear from them and connect with them about what they need as far as this development. You know, one of the biggest things that they were talking about was, well, what happens when the Morocco Shrine goes down? You know, for those of you that aren't familiar, Morocco Shrine is right next to a college dorm on St. John's Bluff. And they're like, well, our rent go up if these are luxury apartments. You know, the apartments that they do stay at that are off campus, will those go up? How are they going to be able to afford to stay here? You know, where are the internship programs in the district? They are not aware of the small businesses that have that opportunity for our young professionals. So I really want to actually collaborate and bring them in in. And, you know, one of the things that we do in Rotaract, and Mercy has been in Rotaract with me and can speak to it a little bit, is we've had a mentorship program. And, you know, I would love, like, if we could get with the Coggin School of Business and, you know, young professionals that want to work in entrepreneurship or, you know, a certain part of marketing or management, get them involved with the small business owners in the district as they're working with the chamber and working with all of those things, and pick up those real life skills that will be able to help them in the future, but also encourage them to stay right where they are. We don't want to lose talent in Jacksonville. There's so much of it. We want to keep it right here, and to create those roots right away while they're in school, I think is extremely powerful. And I'd love to see something like that here.
So staying on the theme of young, another question that's come in is, some say that that you're young, and you know, what do you say about that when people are using young against you as a candidate?
Well, you know, about half of Jacksonville's population is young. And, you know, I think part of having a city council, you know, is one of our volunteers said it best, is having people that look like the city on council. So half of Jacksonville is young. So why not have a young person there? And, you know, that doesn't dissuade from my qualifications as a resident, as a leader, as a business professional. So I think that it's just something to sway the naysayers, but I also think that you look at how this country was built, and it also came from people that you would consider young or inexperienced, and they made America and laid these laws and constitutions. So, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, just learning, and being young is, you've got an opportunity to learn, so you can have an opportunity to grow and do better.
Another question that's come in is about community development. That's a term that the person that's asking the question is not really familiar with. Can you explain a little bit more, like, you know, when you use in your priorities the word or the term community development, what does that mean? What's that mean?
Yeah, so I think that means just investing in programming that's going to bring a community together and allow a community to not only grow, but thrive in that growth. So, for example, let's take one of the cities that I study is Denver. So when Denver started getting an influx of young people, they had to kind of develop the community to support that massive influx of young professionals. So they ended up expanding their affordable housing programs. They ended up getting a smaller version of an amphitheater as a cornerstone of something the community could go to and be invested in. So I think that for what that looks like for us in Jacksonville and in District 4 is having something that that holds us together, right? Community development is finding the thing that brings us together, almost like glue. And you know, I think that's investing in neighborhood programming for our youth. I think that, you know, is investing in after school and before school curricular activities, investing in the parks that we have that other people have organizations go to for baseball and sports and all of those things. And then also give people something to be anchored in the community. Arlington just did the 2020 Arlington Festival. And it was just a cornerstone festival in Arlington that all Arlingtons knew about. Small businesses in Arlington were vendors. Like, that's community development. It's something that keeps our dollar in our community, but also keeps our people in community and keeps us engaged to what's going on and what we're up to. You know, there's sometimes where I just drive back and forth down Beach Boulevard, and, you know, I see the same thing every time. And we want to give people something to look forward to. You want to enjoy your ride home, and, oh, this is here, this is there, this is what's going on. Wow, look, there's that concert down on St. John's Block. You know, just developing programs and opportunities to bring residents together in ways that they may not have been done or been able to do before.
Another question that's come in, it's on the topic of infrastructure. I guess you've been posting quite a bit on infrastructure and problems in the community. What's going on with infrastructure, and how do you think you can address it?
Well, you know, I think the first thing is what on this campaign trail we've been able to identify that there's a problem. And then I think the second thing is to actually figure out how this problem came about. And that would be reaching out to experts like JEA or prior council members about what has happened here, that we've gotten to this point. And then once we understand that, then we can craft a solution of how to fix it. You know, it might not just be all a drainage issue. It might not be all of a sewage issue. So we need to get extremely clear on what is which and how it's happened, and then begin to undo the damage that's occurred so we can ensure that it doesn't keep occurring. You know, we had our town hall on flooding and drainage and insurance, and you know, we are on waterfront by Parksburg Creek and Riviera Manor that are in the district, and you know, that can be a problem if, you know, flooding is going to increase by 15% over the next 30 years. In 30 years, I'll be in my 50s, and like, I still want to have my house here and not have to pay a crazy premium every time something happens. And, you know, I think it's just important that we think of the bench that we're building for those that come after. And that's another good point to being young. I'm thinking of how not so long ago, this wasn't a problem. And now that I see that it is, now what does that look like for the future of my community?
A couple other questions are coming in. Are you still game to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting one. How do you plan to handle moments of unpredictability while serving on city council?
Moments of unpredictability. Well, life is unpredictable too, right? So there's that. But you know, I think we take it like we've taken everything else. You take a moment, you take a breath, you digest the information, you make sure you're clear on it and you understand it. And then if you don't, you gather as much information as you can. And if you are, you still gather more information than you know. And really keeping the citizens at the forefront of that, right? And so if something is presented about a development or a change in the neighborhood, and you know, no matter what my personal opinion on is, it is like getting an email out saying, hey, this is a thought. Where's your head at? Should we put something together? You know, Scott Wilson did a wonderful town hall, bringing City Hall to our neighbors in Grove Park and Glenlea about a possible development, and hearing the expressions and the voices of what it is. It didn't matter what his personal opinion was, he was able to hear the voices of the people. So, you know, I think that unpredictability just has to start with grounding your feet, taking a breath, and then getting as much information and presenting the information so that you can make a decision that is based on the people and the well-being of the state, of this city and district. And so that it's the best thing for those that come after and the residents that are impacted.
Another question, how do you plan to keep in touch with the community and the people during COVID? I know this person might be joining late because I think you addressed it earlier, but you might want to retouch on it. During COVID while serving on city council, so we know how to reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been building our kind of District 4 database, so to speak, through MailChimp, and storing those email addresses and tagging them as District 4 residents, so we can communicate that way. And you know, also, this will be public, and I would love to have an opportunity, you know, when elected, to kind of blast it out there through the news and saying, hey, this is how you can get in touch with me. Here is my information, and we're here for you. We've got a contact form on our website, and we're building that base of email addresses. And, you know, even in addition to that, you know, just looking at getting with the community, the HOAs, you know, using them to be a catalyst to spread the word. You know, probably not do like a TV commercial or anything, but, you know, if there's certain people that we're still not reaching, you know, even sending out a letter like, hey, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Nicole, and I'm recently elected, and here's all my contact information, office, cell, email, and try to navigate what's the best way of communication. You know, District 4 has about 70,000 people that live here, so email would probably be my preferred method to communicate, but also, you know, keeping our website in the city of Jacksonville and putting that out there like, hey, this is where the information is and how you can find it. So that people do know where to look, even if they don't go on Facebook or the internet every single day.
Yeah, I would say probably as residents, you know, the hardest thing is like even knowing where to find information, right? I mean, that's always a first step for most people, is like, where do I even begin? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Another question in the chat is, do you have a plan for bringing local businesses together?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a special affinity to small businesses, and you know, I'd really like to work with the chamber and their small business division, and begin to kind of create almost like a Southside Pride guide of our small businesses and how we can support them, where they're located, their phone numbers, and kind of, again, bring the community back into our economic growth. I think that a dollar goes such a long way when that dollar belongs to someone that lives in that community. It not only entices a business owner to stay and invest in the people that are supporting them, but also, creates a dialogue. You wouldn't know how many people I've met in my neighborhood that just wanted to pet my dog. And then they're like, oh, he's so soft. And I'm like, oh, he goes to dog life grooming right down on Grove Park. You should go there too. Now we're talking about the dogs and how we got them. And oh yeah, where do you live? I'm in this building, you're in that building. Oh great, well we have a dog walker chat. We text each other when we're walking in the morning and evening. Let us know if you want to get, because we're all young females. So that begins to just kind of create a dialogue. And then the owner says, oh, Nicole recommended you. I know Nicole, she's been going here for years and this. And then there's just this energy and community that didn't exist before. So I'm definitely supporting our local businesses. Not that the town center isn't great and that there's not a need for large businesses. I get it. I love a good Target. So, but also letting people know that there are options to support local. And when you shop local, that keeps the money in the district, but also in Jacksonville. And we are able to really create some shift and some change.
Perfect. I want to respect your time because I know you still have a lot to do with early voting having begun today. So I'm just going to shift us really quick for a moment and start a screen share. So first, on behalf of me and those of us helping as volunteers, we all want to wish you happy birthday this week, Nicole. And in addition, you're welcome. And in addition, if you're watching this and you want to wish Nicole happy birthday, you can chip in $28 and help bring her to City Hall. You can also volunteer for the campaign. We would love to have your energy and enthusiasm by helping us with lit dropping in these remaining weeks, phone banking with us, and also sign waving at all of the voting sites in the district. To connect with the campaign, as Nicole's been mentioning in this Meet the Candidate conversation, you can just go to her website, which is NicoleHamm.com. Fill out any form that's on the website and you'll get a response within 24 hours. So vote. I'm going to toss this back to Nicole for a final farewell.
Yeah, and thank you all so much. Your support has been tremendous and instrumental in this campaign. I honestly feel like we wouldn't have even gotten this far without all of the people and the love. This is truly a people-powered campaign, a group of individuals that have brought their talent and love and energy to really lifting this off. And I'm committed to staying grounded and accountable to not only them, but to the city of Jacksonville and especially the residents of District 4. So I look forward to November 3rd and being completely, have our yes or no and just being able to stay in service and stay in community and just be up to something bigger than myself.
Thank you, Nicole. Everyone, have a good evening.